Hey, what's up, everyone? I am your host, Sethi.
I am stylist Rashi Bindra.
Elevated Grapes is a digital media hub that includes a talk show, event correspondence, and digital hosting for partner projects.
The talk show, which you are listening to or watching, depending what you're doing, covers topics in fashion, business, and lifestyle.
We regularly have incredible guests that share their stories, their experiences, and tips on the above topics.
And when we don't, you get to hear how we talk to each other off air.
So subscribe to your favorite streaming site, YouTube, and Instagram for behind the scenes and additional visual content.
Let's jump right into the show. Welcome to Elevated Grapes.
This is the Elevated Grapes Podcast.
Elevated Grapes Podcast.
With your host, Seth.
And
stylist, Rashi Bindra.
It's time to get started.
Let's talk fashion, shall we?
A multidisciplinary designer, entrepreneur, and philanthropist are some of the different ways one can begin to describe George Sully. Based in Toronto with an impressive worldwide network, Sully has established a collective of multifaceted companies that leverage him as an innovative player in the world of multimedia content creation and fashion design.
From humble beginnings to now producing lucrative opportunities for the business and his clientele, George Sully is a leading force in today's ever-changing business landscape. George Sully also founded the Black Designers of Canada in 2020 to promote diversity and Black artists within the industry. So with that, we'd like to welcome George Sully to the show. George, thank you so much for taking the time and sitting with us to share your story.
How's it going, guys? I'm just happy to be here first and foremost. And let's get it on.
Absolutely. So let's just jump right into it. But before we get into fashion brands that you own, let's talk about your music career a little bit, especially since you were in Ottawa at the time. So let's sort of a quick little background.
Definitely a quick little background.
Roots are always important.
Funny enough, I definitely did start in music, it just tapered off where Napster came into play, and this is an old, but something that actually changed our life as we see it, where music is sold and traded. So when that kind of came about, I saw my peril right away, because we were spending all this money for studio and so on and so forth, money that we already didn't have already. So then when you heard the notion that it's going to be free and it's going to be traded whether you like it or not for free, it was an easy transition. It was kind of like, okay, well, you know what, forget music. And funny enough, I was definitely seeing people in the market doing that transition, and Diddy was definitely somebody who was doing the transition from music to fashion. So I followed designers like that and musicians like that going into that trade. And then from there, I started using a lot of my artist friends in music, and then put them in a position of power where I was shooting them. So I was able to tell their stories at the same time, market my brand. So then that took off, and then, we got to athletes level, you know what I mean? Very early on. I already knew what I had and what I was able to create and do, but was the industry ready for me and for success that looked like me? And that's where we come into question of a lot of things that are happening now, because I was doing some really great things back then. So it wasn't that I was never prepared. It was just, are you going to let me in and let me do my thing like everybody else, right? And that's the thing that we talk about now, and why it's so prevalent, because why was I doing at that level so long ago? We're talking 20 years. I don't want to date myself, but yeah. I'm only 20 years old, so it makes no sense.
You were a newborn at the time.
I was a newborn, at Athletes World. You know what I mean? It makes no sense. So just to say, it's kind of like, if I was ready at that time, you always think back now that Canada is holding some sort of accountability for owning up to systemic racism and owning up to there is actual racism in Canada. Wow, surprise, surprise. And just now we're having these conversations of saying, and even I'm thinking back in my head, what would have happened to me if I would have been given the tools like everybody else at a time when I already considered myself excellence, and so did the market, right? So then all this time now has gone by, and I've definitely had a lot of successes, but I always sit back and say, wow, if Canada had my back, if people were already giving certain grants and or certain opportunities and like everybody else, it seems that everyone else has always had that equal footing and platform. And when you sit back and realize how many times you were stumped and or cornered and or put or set aside or marginalized, you realize, holy shit, like you know, people that have had to go through what I've gone through and didn't have that grit and didn't have that perseverance. Like, I don't give a shit who's holding the door down or not. I will climb through the window regardless to get my shot. For those who don't have that, it sucks because they've either gone out of business or they've quit. And that's not even fair. That just sucks. It just sucks. And like, it's kind of like, wow, if they would have just waited for Canada to catch up and say, whoops, sorry. Whoops. Yeah. Whoops, we completely understand. And I was part of the, you know, shutting the door down on you. I'm sorry. Whoops, I didn't know, you know, or I did know. And like, you know, my boss told me. Now it's all about my boss told me, or the corporate, you know, coming down said I couldn't pick you up, or I couldn't buy your brand, or I couldn't promote your brand, or I couldn't set whatever. It's all coming down and everyone's talking. And I know I'm getting a lot of apologies. I've gotten a lot of corporate apologies. I've gotten phone calls saying, sorry, because XYZ and we can do better. And I'm like, okay, let's get going. This is not the end. This is just the beginning of opportunities for everybody. So it's kind of like, I'm not got you or cancel culture anybody. I'm just like, hey, let's get to work. And if you mean what you say, let's get it going. We got some time to catch up. We got some, you know, we got to get it. Let's get going. So anyways.
You see, sorry, Rashi, I know you were supposed to jump in with a question.
Go for it.
Because you hit a really important point there, I think. You know, when you talk about cancel culture and you talk about, you know, when I'm on the come up, no one supports me. Now they all want to support me because I got a brand and I got some clout, right? Like, you hear that a lot. So what do you say to folks that are like that have made somewhat of a name for themselves, whether it's in fashion or whether it's in a different industry? And now some of those same naysayers are coming back and saying, hey, let's do some work together. You know, there's different schools of thought on that. Like I said, so you see.
Well, yeah. Well, you know what? Like, I'm in it and I'm involved in it. So I guess I have my opinions on how that goes. And
that's what I'd love to hear that.
And absolutely. And for me, I'm just like, it has to start somewhere. You can call it tokenism, you can call it performative, but if somebody who's known and who's played that game of the non-inclusion game, and all of a sudden they hit a eureka where it's kind of like, you know what, now I want to be part of that inclusion game, or sorry, exclusion. I should have said exclusion at first. And you want to all of a sudden partake in this thing and inviting us to the table. If that's your first time, it will look performative. Actually, it is. It's you can't call it any other thing, because one way you were one way, and then all of a sudden now you're another. But the thing is that it will always be that way for the first time. It's for us to really change that perception, because it's kind of like, I know for myself, if you invite me performatively just for the photo op, and then all of a sudden after we get to work, you realize like, holy shit, you're dope. And to be honest, I really had you pegged as somebody I could use for the photo op and then toss off later. I know for me, it doesn't happen, because the minute you invite me to the table and you see my strength and you see my excellence, you're like, holy shit, I fucked up. And let's not only continue to do this, but let's expand it. I'm part of the expand train. So like, get me on. I don't care how you fucking get me on. Apologize, my friend. You know,
no, it's all good.
No, we swear. Don't worry.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care how you get me on, but you will quickly find out who I am and what I can bring to the table. And then forever else, you're changing everything. And from the ground up of how you operate with me and how you're going to operate with other BIPOC or people of color or Black and so on and so forth. So it has to start somewhere. So if you give me an opportunity and all of a sudden I come at you and say, well, now you're doing this and fuck you, and then I don't want to work with you, and then it defeats the purpose. If I'm asking for inclusion, then I'm going to give you the opportunity. And I call it the accountability clock. It's one of those things that like, you have just a certain amount of time. If you already know this and you've been operating for 10, 15, 20 years and keeping us out of this circle, and all of a sudden you want to do this for performative reasons, sure, I'll enter, I'll see what's going on, and I'll perform. And And then we'll see from there. And again, like, you know, we're not giving you 20 years now, because now you should know what's right or wrong. And again, it's just right or wrong. Don't give me or anybody a leg up. I'm not looking for a leg out. I'm not looking for pity or a handout. None of those things. I don't need it.
Yeah.
I don't need it. I'm looking for equal footing. Let me run the race with everybody else. Let me put me up against you, against her, him, she, or he, and like, let's line up.
Yes.
Because that way, that's fair. But you have to let me race. You have to let me line up. And whether I fall or I fall short of the finish line,
that's on you.
Or I win, that's up to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's up to me. And I rather that than putting me outside of the race and letting me watch from the fence, because then that's not cool. And nobody should agree with that being okay. But again, this is not a pity. This is not some sort of a program. Here's the line, but the Black people get 4 steps ahead. You know what I mean? You could line up here. No, I don't need that shit. I don't need that shit. So.
And you know what? It's to your point, because you always had a very strong vision, and that's how you've been building all these amazing brands that you've built. But for me, I wouldn't say what's still baffling, because like you said, racism was always there in Canada. We just never really spoke about it. But we still need to ask for a seat on the table. Like, people of color still need to ask for a seat on the table, when it's like, it's been 20 years. You've seen what we could all do. Why can't we just expand that table and like you said, run equally and just grow it's
definitely going to take time. Absolutely. And at the same time, and there's another question, people saying, then why are you even asking for that table? Or like, why don't you build your own table and blee, 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 blee. And then the short little answers. I say that's great, but I want first rights of refusal to be offered anything on any fucking table. Yeah. I want the opportunity to be offered, to be invited to a table. And that's the difference. It's kind of like, and then I could say no, but then yes or no, and it's up to me, but then not just completely being excluded from ever even being brought into the room where a table is, especially when you know that you helped build one of those legs that makes the table stand. We are part of that table. So give me that right. And then, hey, while that is happening, I'm already building these tables. The reason why I built Black Designers of Canada in the first place is because, you know what, I can't let somebody else do it for us when, waiting. Where's that time? If it's not happening, then, let's start this thing. Let's start these dialogues. At the same time, we cannot do this alone. This is equal participation. For equal footing, it takes equal participation. That's what I always say. So it's kind of like, we need our Canadian counterparts. We need our community to be there with us, because we already know we've been marginalized. We could bang the table and talk to each other, but we're preaching to the choir. We need for Canada to understand and catch up for this, because it's kind of like we're looking for equal footing. So get to that place, and then we can do our thing. Whether it's our own table, whether it's your table, whoever's table it is, it's kind of like everybody needs to know this situation. It's the elephant in the room. So let's talk to the elephant. Let's get it out. And that's it's very, very, very important. It's super, super important. So Black Designers of Canada building. These awards, right? Black Designers of Canada Award of Excellence. Why? Funny enough, I got somebody who called me and said, why do you need that? Why do you need to give that be to that?
Yeah.
Oh God.
And I had the same reaction, and I'm still trying to be, thoughtful in my words. And the question of why we need some sort of acknowledgement. And when you ask that, you're asking that based on a place of privilege.
Yeah.
Because you're basically saying, why do you need that? Because I understand that everything is equal in Canada. There is no racism. I don't see color. Why do you need this extra thing? Well, if you understand that Black people or Black designers and or Black bakers or this or that or gardeners or whatever, if you understand that we've been marginalized at every section and the system wasn't even built, forget the system, we're not part of, it wasn't built for us. It wasn't built, the system wasn't built for BIPOC designers or BIPOC people in general for any of the time. It was never, we weren't a thought in the process. Yep. So when you think of that and you ask, and somebody asks you, why do you think, it comes from a position of just privilege. You just might not understand our plight. I always call it carbon monoxide. You can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't touch it, but it kills us. It gets us every time. And then there's one person in the room saying, I don't smell anything. What really?
Yeah.
What's going on? You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna stay right here. And the person's watching everybody else run to the hills and run across and whatever. And that's how it's always gonna be. I can't sit there and try to have an argument or discuss. All I know is that veterans especially, and when you uncover 180 designers that Canada has not acknowledged or acknowledged this much, or 4 or 5 out of 180 all this time, and acknowledged 4 of 180 able, extraordinary runway, cut and sew, haute couture, high fashion designers. There's about 4 or 5 active wear, athleisure wears out of the whole bunch. So if that was your excuse that you can't onboard us because we're 100% athleisure, which is a stereotype, and all these other major haute couture brands have taken from us, taken our culture to just take off, it's one of those things that it's an argument you're going to lose. But I've helped uncover that. So then what do you do with 180 of these designers? Do we wait 50 years till everybody starts getting acknowledgement? Or do you start saying to yourself, you know what? Let me start a conversation. Let me make a statement right away and say, you know what? There are different disciplines, there are different acumens. There's different designers for all types of different reasons. But all of these things, there's one category. If I was gonna have a category for this award that I'm handing out, we all identify with this one category of being marginalized, designing in the dark with a hand behind our back, with a knee on our neck, with a fucking blindfold, but it's already dark in the room already. All of these things we've been designing with our whole time through. We all belong in that category. Mm-hmm. So that's what you're getting the award for the first. That's category number 1. We need to get the elephant out of the room and say, you know what? I'm going to acknowledge these designers that should have been acknowledged forever and more in a day. First, because there's designers, I swear to God, I'm not going to name any names, but there's some designers that are sick or equal to or extraordinarily better than people that have won anything.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's true, right? Yeah.
And if I didn't expose these designers, then we wouldn't even be here having this conversation. It would have been business as usual with everybody on the planet and in Canada and or the States. And what's the problem? Because before June 2nd, 2020, there was no problem. 1, we weren't racist. Number 2, systemic racism. What are you talking about? Only in America. Right. It was the only in America, and we love our maple syrup, hockey skates, and beaver tails. Yeah. And I do. We do. We do. And I could probably skate better than half my white friends. I swear, I'm from Ottawa. So what do you want? You know what I mean? Like, you got beat up if you couldn't skate. You know what I mean? So I can play hockey with the best of them. I love my fucking. So my point is that it really hurt to really understand the problem that we had and nobody wanted to talk about. I uncover 180 designers, put them on a platform that everybody can see. And that's when I got a lot of apologies, because I finally just did here they are, guys. So you used to tell me that, George, what's the big deal? There's only about 5 of you, or maybe about 10 of you max. Okay, Sully, I'm gonna go with you 15 for sure. Like, I'll give you that, but I can't give you any more, because off the top of my head, I could think of not even 15 for. So then going into this exercise of Black Designers of Canada and going to this exercise and then covering this many is kind of like, sorry, man, because I didn't know. And then all the excuses from retailers, from buyers, from stylists, from photographers, everyone telling me either, holy shit, I'm going to use this forever, or holy shit, I didn't know. Or I'm sorry. Like, dude, I look at my Instagram and I scroll down and I'm a photographer, or I'm a retailer, or I'm a stylist, and I don't see one Black fucking designer, one be a BIPOC, anything on my page until after June 2nd. All of a sudden, everybody, like, I want you guys to do a test. Go on your favorite anything and scroll down and just see before June 2nd what their Instagram theme grid looked like.
Oh, I can definitely.
And then just do a finger swipe. Do a finger swipe. It goes from Lily White to BIPOC in a second. In a second. Now, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, wow.
Oh, sorry, we're cut out, George. You're gone to radio silence again. There's a bit of a mute there. So actually, we're going to take that quick opportunity to take a quick break. We're chatting with George Sully on Elevated Grapes, and we'll be right back. Hey guys, it's your host, Sethi. We're also on TikTok, so make sure you follow us there at Elevated Grapes. Cheers, and back to the show. So we're chatting with George Sully, and it's been an incredible conversation so far, George. Thanks so much for sharing what you're sharing. Sure. So we were talking about this pivotal moment, June 2nd. Things changed. So talk to us about, you were already getting into that. What changed, and what was the cause or trigger for that change?
Well, obviously we know the George Floyd and the public and there's a many that have been, you know what I mean? Like, we can go into the list of, but what was the difference with George Floyd is just simply because with all the lies and like all the cameras went out, or it was dark, or I shot him, but I thought I was shooting a cat, or like all the excuses that you've heard from the police for all these many years. George Floyd, you were able to see it in true form, in true HD form, unfiltered video, witnesses, everything. You're able to see this whole process of what we've been talking about for so many years in front of your face. So there's so many people that couldn't justify it anymore, because before there was always, it was blurry. See, that's what it was, and then the cops get away scot-free. Now it just seems that this really touched a lot of nerves, and then Amy Cooper, who accosted a random Black dude in New York, in the park, and then Canadians being like, you see, that's what happens in America. Then finding out she's Canadian, and she's spent some time and it's kind of oh shit, whoops. Now we have to really talk about it because she's Canadian. And guess what, everybody at home watching this right now, like, I have an Amy Cooper as a neighbor, and at the grocery store. There's an Amy Cooper downstairs right now. There's an Amy Cooper behind your offices right now. There's Amy Coopers everywhere. There's Karens everywhere. Yes, there's Karens everywhere. Karens are everywhere. So surprise, surprise. And there was a lot of surprises and a lot of other things. And it's just kind of like, and that was the thing. So then June 2nd, it was the kind of, acknowledgement. We're going to mute ourselves. We're going to listen. We're going to talk. We're going to educate ourselves. And that's all awesome. The thing that got to me, for the people that were doing it in the love and the kindness of their hearts, all that great thing, that's awesome. Learn, do that research and understand what the hell is going on. And a lot of people were like, "Yo, this is definitely crazy." Yeah. But it was for those who were, you know what I mean? Like, they were all about it. June 1st, they were all about it. So June 2nd, all of a sudden, some of the people that were the most guilty of were some of the most yes. And, they put up a Black JPEG and, we're going to support and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And I'm just like, wow. Mm-hmm. Like, I was just trying to get a hold of you, a week ago, and you turned me down. Me knowing, because I'm an insider. So me knowing that I'm getting cock blocked because X, Y, Z. When a designer, when a friend of yours tells you, man, I just had an awesome meeting. And I just got picked up And you know what, George, they're flush with cash. You know, she told me, you know, the buyer told me on the side that like they're just buying left, right, and center. And like, man. I'm like, yeah, cool. And then you call and you make the bet, then you get a hold of the right people. And I know the people. I'm not talking to the cashier. I'm talking to the management. And yeah. You make a phone call and say, George, you just, man, too bad because we're just out of cash. Like, the budget.
Always the budget.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
You know,
excuse. I love that.
And I have all the intel. I don't do cold calls. I'm at a level in my career. I don't do cold calls. I'm knowledge. I know exactly what the buyer just finished eating before they're going to take my call. You know what I mean? She had an egg sandwich. So it's one of those things that like, and these are these things, but then these are the first people to just champion but there were still a lot of people saying, yeah, America, like, you know, in America, not here though, but I'm putting
here. It's here in such a big way. I mean, you know,
listen. It's 100% here. It's in the pores. It's oozing out of the walls. So it's just ignorance for sure.
It is.
So then the point being is that a lot of people were the first to champion this thing and to just jump all on in, being the most egregious like practitioners of exclusion. And then that's what got me thinking of saying, if the excuse is that we don't exist or that we're subpar or actually there's only 3 of us, then let me just prove the point. So by June 3rd, I put the call out. May 28th, I actually .com'd Black Designers of Canada. I was actually pissed that I was able to .com it because you know what that meant? That nobody is Black Designers of Canada. Nobody .com that? For the life of me, Black Designers of Canada.com.
Yeah.
I went to Google, I Googled Black Designers of Canada. Nothing came up. So in my process of .comming, Canadian Black designers, nothing came up. There was 2 articles and they were like, they're based in February 2019 or 2000, whatever. And they're based as articles, Black History Month articles. And then after that on Google, so it went from Black designer thing, top 10 designers you need to know. And it was a Black History Month article. And the next article, and then after that, it went to Black designer, Black carpets, Black cats, Black thing. Sorry, guys. Everything else but Canadian Black designers. So then there was nothing. So then when I .com that, I was just like happy, but then I was sad. It was kind of a joke, like, wow, it's free to take. And then, so I took that, and then within a day, splash page, within a second, the following day, putting some things together. By the 3rd day, I put out a call out saying, if you feel these ways about the market, about the industry, no rep, no love, no XYZ, tag somebody. Submit somebody, tell me about this designer that you want to see featured and whatnot. Within about a week, 2 weeks of that, I got over 100 designers. And then it got to 200. Then I brought it back down simply because everybody and their mother was, like this baker I know, he's a designer, he designs bread. And I'm like, I feel you, but we have to make it to something. And I'm like, I kept that design, I kept that baker's, information.
Yeah.
But the point being was getting to the truth of saying, this is bullshit. There's more than 5 of us. It's bullshit what you're telling me. I don't care from what direction you're trying to tell me. And I was able to prove that. And nobody came to me ever after and ever more to try to, to try to come at me any other ways. It was kind of like everybody just like the industry was fucking mind blown that this guy just blew the cover on the most egregious fucking crime in our history of burying 100+ designers, all capable and sick and dope as shit and ready. That's fucked up. Like that gets serious. It's like, you did that, like Canada did that, and they weren't going to not stop doing it if it didn't happen. That this trail from June 2nd and all this stuff that started happening, you had to really out yourself and to tell the truth of the matter. So So then here we are. And then, so when I put that out and then all that starts happening and then press came, a lot of press came. There's a few. Well, okay. So then you put this call out, right? About this thing that we are doing, Black Designers of Canada, and all the press of absolutely. But then there's some press. I can't say the name.
Yeah, let's not name names, but
let's not name names. But you know what? If you go to, Black Designers of Canada and you see the press, because it's listed, if you don't see, because if there's everybody but two, or if there's everybody but one, right, and you're not there counted as wanting to cover this.
Yes.
Some that call it history. I didn't call it, I've never called it history. They're calling it history. And I know it is history, but I can't say it because then but they're calling it history. If you're not there to count this, you're always going to be on the wrong side of what we started, because you know what, that was then, but now it's now everybody, hey, like everyone's catching arrows for things that they didn't do for the community, but for Canada and for life and for humanity. You're not doing these things, you're going to catch it. So just to say, so that's June 2nd, and that was and then 5 days later, 15% pledge, Aurora Jane comes out, and then days later, then you have Black in Fashion Council in the States, and then here it goes. These things that are happening. Look at 15% pledge now. What happened with 15% with Aurora James right now? And she just started that June 5th or June 6th. I started my call June 3rd. And look at her now. The world, these platforms, these initiatives have changed the world. They've changed the world. Like 15% pledge, like you have the biggest organizations that had to bend. And they're taking time. Some guys are bending a little sooner than later, and women sooner than later, but everybody is bending because you have no choice to do the right thing. So it's kind of like, we are making history, absolutely. No matter how you want to look at it, we're making history, and you best be on the right side of it. And else, I didn't do cancel culture. I think in some considerations, if it's so egregious that, okay, yeah, you gotta go, like, you just gotta disappear.
Yeah.
But for others, it's kind of like, it's like, yo, I didn't know to the extent, I didn't know X, Y, Z. If you can give a decent reason why and what you're trying to do to fix it, absolutely welcome, man, because we need everybody, and not everybody was part of this thing. That's the thing. If 99% of Canada, or 96 or 4% of Canada wasn't on this train, and then now 80 come, you got to accept them and at least ask, okay, you're here, what can we do together to get you out of this box? Because you're getting accosted on your social media right now. We're here to help. You know what I mean? Like, you might have been the person who said, I don't see color. And that was it. That's all you said. And you have all types of Black friends and everything. But you said that. Yeah. And that was the problem, because if you don't see color, then you don't see me, and you don't see my experience, and you don't see where I've come or where I couldn't go because of my color. You have to see me. I'm a good guy. I'm a funny guy now and then. But you have to see me. So then if you just did that and you're like, George, man, shit, man, look at help me, man. You know, man, hey, could you tell them that we're really good friends? Hi. What's up? Hey, really good friends. No, man, he's cool. No, okay, Sully, yeah. If you need me as protection, I got you. You know what I'm saying? But you're gonna have to order like $10,000 worth of merchandise.
Yeah.
Credit card.
Disclaimer there.
No, but again, we're cool. Like we are there to say that this is the problem, and we are there to have people come to the table with us and deal with this thing and talk, and then just enjoy and enjoy this process of let's keep going forward. There's a lot to do. We need the help. So it's not just like, fuck Canada. I'm Canadian. I was born here. This is mine too. See, that's the thing. You ain't gonna get rid of me. This is mine too. Yeah. 100%. So there is no, you go back to your thing, because then Now we're really going into the thing of like, yo, this wasn't yours fucking either. Unless you're indigenous, then it's just like, what are you talking about? Yeah, so like, exactly. We can go deep or not, but like, I'm just saying that's how, you know, I was born here, and it's just kind of like, I'm second generation, I'm first generation, because my parents came from Haiti. I guess, am I first generation? Yeah, I'm first generation.
If you're born here, you're first generation.
Yeah, first generation. So, you know, and so on and so forth. So it's kind of like, you know what I mean? This is my fucking beaver tails, man. Fuck you. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. Get your own beaver tail.
Get your own beaver tail. So on that note, we're going to take another quick break. We're chatting with George Sully on Elevated Grapes. Are you on the right side of history or not? That's what we got to know. So we'll be right back.
I'm loving this conversation.
Hey everybody, this is Stylist Rashi Bindra. Do not forget to catch us on Rukus Avenue. Also, you can hear us on the Dash Radio app every Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So we're chatting with George Sully on Elevated Grapes. Thank you for tuning in. George, this story has been so interesting so far. You've shed light on so many issues that are underlying and still prevalent. You know, they're at the forefront, but they're also underlying because not everyone's willing to accept and or admit that these things are real issues every day. Let's talk about Black Designers of Canada and the role that's come to play in this journey with you.
I did touch on it a little bit earlier about Black Designers of Canada and you know, June 2nd and all those things and so on and so forth. But what is now played a role, and going forward, it's become its own institution. It's a thing that people can now reference when they are looking for those answers. If you need to know more about Black designers, there's a place where you can go and figure it out and roll through it. People are always asking me, like in interviews, you know what, give me your top three. Like, what are your, I'm like, no, that defeats the purpose, because when I'm telling you the top three, now you're going to run with the top three and you're going to leave everybody else behind. I will never give you the top three or name anybody on that site, as much as I'm just, I'm going to amplify the site as a whole. You go there, you choose your top three. So then when you're talking to somebody, you can be like, boom, boom, boom. I know some Black designers, boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? And you can do that.
I don't mean to laugh, but you don't want it just to be just a checklist, right? Like it's
absolutely. Absolutely. But it is funny, because it's kind of like if we played the gotcha game, I would say, to the person, you know, hey, name your top three, da da da. And it's like, oh shit, and for me, it's just kind of like, as a whole, it's done such important things and really fast, because it was the only thing. And there was a couple of directories, a couple of other scattered little ideas, but nothing concentrated, nothing and beautiful though. The aesthetics was very important. I needed to prove a lot of points. And if you didn't think we had it, I made sure you know we did. So when you go to the site and then you see these blocks scroll, and you're like, oh man, like shit. Because my answer to George was like, yeah, but you guys, you know what I mean? You might have an Instagram, but no website, no commerce, no this, no that. It might be a thought, it might be only a sample. You know, all these things that, you know, excuses that are built up over the years to make sure you can keep us out and still feel you can sleep at night. I took that all away from everybody. I don't want you to sleep at night anymore. I want you to feel like shit. Like I've been in the wrong the whole time, and like I can't sleep. Like I did this, I fucked up. And so then now when you get past that and you go to the second phase, you know, first you're guilt, then there's phases to this. And then now you're like, no, I'm going to make a difference. I want to make a difference. And you know what, I'm going to go to this site, and I'm talking about, was like initially the question where its impact, it's kind of like, it's impacted every base of fashion industry and just industry and design industry in general. Because Canada is going, I'm getting the darndest calls from the biggest corporations. If they can't figure it out, they'll call me in and ask me what's the best direction to go, and I'll point them out. And I point them out to certain designers on the website based on the fact that if I know that they can handle that weight. Right. You don't want to put somebody together with somebody who can't handle the weight, because then there's that, see, George, there you go. I told you. Right. I told you there was only 5. And when I meant 5, I knew there was 180, like you say, but there's only 5 that can actually handle an order. And see, that's another way of, again, plausible than I, like all these things that you can kind of now think to kind of get yourself out of. Excuses to get yourself out of not even knowing that there was that many designers. Oh, now it's the there's only this many that can handle. No, like I will point you to, there's always somebody I can point you to handle it. So the site has had that much impact where it's kind of like everybody is using it as a reference point. At least you don't have to choose anybody from the site, but now it's a stop. It's a stopover before, when you're making decisions as a stylist, photographer, retailer, buyer, whatever. You get to stop there and see that, am I missing something before I continue? Before like I just hire and buy all my white friends. Let me just check, and then okay, cool, fuck them. Then I'm gonna just I'm kidding. But like, but yeah, like that's the thing. So I love that for that. And we spoke about the award and why we're giving the award. Yes. So then that's like, I've had only a few people questioning why am I giving Black people awards? Do they even really need that type of acknowledgement, a piece of glass? And I'm like, man, you don't have, you know nothing about the experience. You don't know, like, man, like, you know, it's funny, like you give me like a new cell phone because I'm Black, I'll fucking love you forever. Yeah, I swear to God, like, you know what I mean? Like we'll take anything just because we're Black. No, I'm kidding. I'll erase that off. No, like it's like you really don't understand. Yeah, like listen, you really don't understand how low on the totem pole they've put our experience, like how they put us. And it's one of those things that if you just understood just being counted, if we were put on a ledger with 1,000 people, we'd be happy. But not even that has been done. And that's the point. It's kind of like we'll accept anything just to be counted in the topic of 1,000 people. I don't even care if I hear a mention, but if I'm on a ledger saying at least you know that I'm existing, then that's everything. So then I can't let 20 years go by like myself to finally get some sort of an acknowledgement when I can give that to somebody who's just as dope as me, but who started 2 years ago. I'm gonna tell you that you're fucking dope right now, and that you're counted right now, and that you're worthy of an award right fucking now before I let anybody tell them that they have to wait 5, 10, 15 fucking years for it. I'm gonna tell them because it's gonna be motivation for them to be like, you know what? I'm an award-winning designer, and this is, and you'll find out their merits. You tell me if they don't fucking deserve that award. Are you kidding me? You better have a big case, or else you'll get canceled like everybody else. You know, you better have a fucking case for that fucking denial. And that's the thing. This is why I've taken it on myself. And if there's another award, like, well, George, well, now all the awards and everyone's going to be giving a Black person award for something, and all the Black awards, and there's going to be 1 million Black awards by the, you know what? I don't give a shit, because you know what? Like if there's another award and another award, then you know what? Then they'll look like the same as everybody else. We will be like, hey, then we're part of the fucking course then, because it seems that there's an award for everything for everybody but us. Exactly. So there, I fucking said it. Yeah. And so if I all of a sudden am asked about why am I doing this, then that's really bad for you that you're asking me that, because it's kind of like the privilege is so fucking high. And to ask me that is just kind of, you really don't see, you know, what the Rock is cooking. Like you don't see what I'm really trying to do here. And I'm just trying to put everybody on an equal footing. And the equal footing is one category that we could all identify with. But guess what? Everyone that's getting.
Oh, we've hit a bit of a snag there with the volume again. So we'll give George a second, see if he comes back. Yeah, we're in some silence. So, sorry, folks, we're going to take another quick break right now. We're chatting with George Sully on Elevated Grapes. We are talking about the Black designers of Canada and the movement that's represented there and how it's actually furthering the cause. So, great story with George Sully on Elevated Grapes. We'll be right back. Hey guys, it's your host, Sethi. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Elevated Grapes. Cheers, and let's continue the show.
Hey everybody, we are talking with George Sully. It's been such an interesting, inspiring, and motivating, conversation. And if it's bringing up some emotions, I'm glad it is. So it's about time. So George, now let's get into all the amazing brands that you have built and you are still building.
Absolutely. First and foremost, if you go to georgesully.com, funny enough, I had to put a brand section and legacy brands. So you have my new brands, and of course you have the legacy brands. And the legacy brands, Lim Apparel, Chad Magazine, now Sully Wong. Sully Wong, I mean, we did around the world business. It was huge. Sully Wong, we ended Sully Wong, me and my business partner. We were going in different directions, and different life things, were happening. It's one of those things that so I'm waiting for Henry to come back into the market because I have his back 100%. So with that, there was a hole in the market for me because as that was transitioning, I was already going into the space with House of Hyla. House of Hyla, it seems like it's been around for like a million years now because of its development and how we've been able to attack the market so fast and furious, but it's only been 2.5 years, almost 3 years now. So it's kind of like from Sully Wong and then House of Hyla, then Sully Wong going, for me, I was just like looking for that transitional thing for that void. And then, so with my son being born and with me just really zeroing in on different things and products and all that other stuff, I thought like Sully and Son would be a wicked, awesome ode to my new life post having a child and all these great things. And so now I have House of Hyla and Sully and Son are my focuses now. And it's just been awesome because House of Hyla is already a monster in its own self. We started out with a monochromatic heel, and the whole business, the business plan about House of Hyla was literally 4-inch heel, monochromatic, right down to the heel tip, the sole, the inside, outside, just 100% one color, like you dipped it in your favorite vibrant color. We got to a point of 24 colors, and it was awesome because it was a proof of concept because there was the business plan, there was the idea, but would people follow this? But of course, we're creatures of habit. So if you find your right size, wouldn't you want it in every color? And it's true color. That means it's the sole matches everything, the heel tip, right down to the heel tip. So then your outfits now become, and especially monochromatic from, if you're a woman, you have like a purple scarf, purple this, purple, and then the shoes are 100% that color. It's like the Instagrammer influencer's dream. So yeah, then absolutely. That took off. And then now we have sneakers, sandals, heels, flats, 2.5 inch, all those things. So that was going really good. And then Sully and Son came, and LG kind of started it because they came in asking for a collaboration with me, LG Electronics. Mm-hmm. And then so they wanted a backpack. So I said, I know how to do backpacks really well, but I've never gone to the distance of really creating something really technologically sound, waterproof, zipper, like the ultimate bag with the ultimate materials. So then I said, you know what, I'll start it with LG Electronics and then go on from there. So then it was a really successful collaboration. And then that gave the legs to creating a full collection, which I call the Kuro collection, which is, Kuro is Japanese for.
Oh, so I'm hearing some silence on my end again. It could just be the Zoom volume that's hitting us back. So we'll give a couple of seconds. We're not going to take a break here. We're going to give a couple of seconds for George's volume to come back.
Check one.
Yeah, there we are. We're back.
All right.
Yeah,
so
there we are.
I'll stay toned.
We got your back, George. If you cut
okay,
out,
cool. So then, basically Sully and Son is the best of me. It's the best of things that I've learned along the way, along the journey, and I've put it all into this great product. So the ups and downs, products, quality, so on, all these things, it's the best of me. So then when I started with backpacks, but I'm going to go back into shoes, but it'll be premium. I'll go back into accessories, different things like there's a lot of collaborations on the table, and I'm being asked of a lot of really cool opportunities. So then I'm going to put them into Sully and Son and make it continue to make it really strong. The brand is just, funny enough, all this, and the brand hasn't even been launched yet. You know what I mean?
That's incredible.
What
a change! What a change, right? From
yeah. Well, that's the thing.
Your legacy brands.
What a change from the legacy brands, because all this traction I haven't started. But Lim Apparel, it took me a long time to get the traction. But literally, if you look at Lim Apparel's history, everybody and their mother was in it. I checked all the boxes, it should have gotten picked up and done everything else. But like, again, like success that looked like me, nobody knew how to peg it or where to put it. So I have to say that because it's kind of like, I checked all the boxes. I had all the celebrities. I had DJ Jazzy Jeff. I had, Kid Capri. I had like all these crazy at the time mega stars rocking the stuff. But like, it just, sorry, George, there's something missing in the brand. I just don't know what it is. Well, we'll pick it up maybe next season. Anyways, make a long story short. Being in the business for 3 months for Sully and Son and getting this traction, it's a testament to the product. It's a testament to the situation, I'm sure, of people just more inquisitive of seeing what does he really have to offer. Absolutely. And then going in and finding out and being like, shit, this stuff is bar none and it's deserving of. Obviously Harry Rosen, I'm launching the brand with Harry Rosen. And Harry Rosen, congratulations! Absolutely, thank you. And it's premium on premium on premium. We all know Harry Rosen. It's stellar for premium and quality and so on and so forth. And they sat with me and they said, hey, you know what? Like, we looked into this and like everyone can do better, right? And at the same time that, you know what, the product is not just about me because I'm Black and so on and so forth. They are about the quality. They are about premium quality, and it's just. How do I say it's a pleasure them recognizing that, because Black or no Black or designer or no designer, they wouldn't have took it in. And I'm not looking for, again, the handout. I'm not looking for pity. This is not it. I've done premium. I've done shoes over $500 pairs of shoes. Like, I can do just about anything anybody else. I can do anything that anybody else can do, and so that's awesome. But like, there's other great stores and department stores and people that are coming on this project and projects on so on and so forth. Because when they're looking at one thing, they're looking at a little bit of everything else. So, when people told me, George, like, stick to one lane, maybe it's not working because you're thinning out the hurt. Like, by doing too many things, you're thinning out the pot. You're thinning out the quality. Nope, not me. Because there's a reason why now that if we look at House of Hyla, the reason why it's in Hudson Bay for this new season, the reason why Sully and Son, Harry Rosen, Hudson Bay, Boys Co. in Vancouver, these major places, everything I do has a place for it in a big position because it's always been premium, all these things. Sully and Son, Sully Wong was already Hudson Bay, Town Shoes, Little Burgundy, so on and so forth. So like, I'm not sitting on the sidelines saying I haven't been included. It's just, imagine if there was not a knee on my neck, what I'd be everywhere around the world times 2 and times 3, like everybody else. Like everybody else. That's the difference. So I've reached certain points, but it's the ceiling that there is for me that's kind of different for other people because I've always had premium. And I've always been invited to some, like through the back door, but got in and just worked it out and just, hey, here I am. But imagine if there was unbound opportunity. Imagine. So to everybody out there listening, you have to think of these things because like the guy has always been there, but it's because I've always had to catch my own pass. I've had to make my own marketing. I had to be The reason why I'm so proficient in so many things, they call me a multidisciplinary designer, is because I know the Photoshops, I know the InDesigns, I know the illustrators, I know all these things. I know how to produce, I know videography, I know how to use a red camera, but I know how to use my camera phone on my actual cell phone. Like, I know how to use from the top $30,000 camera stuff to the cell phone stuff. I know how to apply myself because I've had to be able to apply myself because nobody was ever coming for me. So I did it myself. I learned these things myself. It's a great lesson for people to learn in the end about how to. So then, so it's very important for me that going forward and these brands that I'm carrying, it's not about doing too many things. That's bullshit. It's bullshit. They say a jack of all trades, masters of none, or master of one. It's just like, I say jack of all trades, master of none is better than a master of one. I'm better than a master because you master that one thing. That person who made that statement mastered that one thing, and he want to make sure everybody knows that's important to do so. But that's an old way of thinking because now that guy who mastered that one thing got a fucking pink slip and asking somebody like me, how do I pivot?
Yeah.
I'm telling everybody now how to pivot and how to do what I do now. But I was the uncool guy, not the uncool guy, I was always cool, but I was the guy that didn't have that, like, it was doing too much. Now there's a name for people like me, the multidisciplinary guy. There's a name for me because if you master how I operate, you will fucking survive in a pandemic, in a recession, in a thing, because I've been able to balance out all my things. Like when House of Hyla wasn't too good, Sully Wong was blowing up. Sully and up, down, House of Hyla, down, doing private label, down, doing graphic design for these great these great corporation agencies that I work with. Boom, 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 boom. Who wins? I do. So you will, if you take those same steps to saying fuck to that, taking or mastering that one thing, because mastering that one thing is an old practice and it's an old system.
And it puts you in trouble sometimes, like in situations.
It puts you in trouble sometimes. Diversify. You better diversify. Diversify or die. Diversify or die. And
right? Like if you're successful, it's not just you have multiple sources of revenue and multiple avenues to create revenue, right?
Everyone's doing it now. It's a cool thing to do now. Like, hey man, I don't just sing. I produce, I dance, I coordinate, I choreograph. Like everybody loves to say that now. Yeah. And that's okay, because it's kind of like, I feel kind of like I'm not the single guy in the room who does too much, or my business card is too fucking full of shit. You know? Like, yeah. Too much information, too many numbers. I don't even have a business card. I fucking have a business card. Yeah, but like,
we fight with that all the time. It's like, how do we build our own individual websites? Because we're so multidisciplinary, as they call it, like both Rashi and I too. It's like, how do we put this on our website and make it seem cohesive and not all over the place, right?
Well, GeorgeSully.com is a good place to start.
so George, you know, we're a little bit short on time, and this conversation can continue for hours without issue. So I think what we are going to do is we're going to definitely, as your story continues, we'd love to have you back on the show regularly. Absolutely. You know, every so often, just to keep hearing your updates, because it's an incredible story. But we want to also just make sure our guests know where to get you. So where can they find you? You mentioned it. All your socials, your websites, everything, you know.
Absolutely. So website, they can find me at georgesully.com, GeorgeSully.com. You can find me on social media, Instagram, on Real George Sully. That's my industry. That's so many. Real George Sully, at Sully and Son Co on Instagram, at House of Hyla on Instagram, and the subsequent websites that go with them. So if you go, actually, to be honest, go to my realgeorgesully.com. There's a link tree and it links to all of everything.
Perfect.
You can find.
That's the best way. Yeah. It gets everyone one spot to go. So we've been chatting with George Sully on Elevated Grapes. Obviously, needless to say, incredible story, incredible journey, and also you're a leader, right? And that's as you're talking, its own thing. I'm listening to a leader share his story and how he's led and made change through his own initiatives, not by following someone, not by waiting for someone, not by saying, you know, why don't you get together? You did it yourself. You led that charge. And yes, you probably picked up some amazing partners or along the way. I mean, no one does everything alone, but you led that charge. So it's truly from that perspective, it's such an inspirational story, and we can wish you to continue much success on this journey.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it for sure.
Thank you. And until next time, guys, this is Elevated Grapes.
Bye.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thank you for watching that podcast or that video. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more of us and see some of our behind the scenes stuff, subscribe below.
Yes, hit that little red, button thingy that's over there, and hit subscribe and keep following us for a lot more cool, fun stuff.
Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you soon. Hey, what's up, everyone? I am your host, Sethi.
I am stylist Rashi Bindra.
Elevated Grapes is a digital media hub that includes a talk show, event correspondence, and digital hosting for partner projects.
The talk show, which you are listening to or watching, depending what you're doing, covers topics in fashion, business, and lifestyle.
We regularly have incredible guests that share their stories, their experiences, and tips on the above topics.
And when we don't, you get to hear how we talk to each other off air.
So subscribe to your favorite streaming site, YouTube, and Instagram for behind the scenes and additional visual content.
Let's jump right into the show. Welcome to Elevated Grapes.